What's going on, everyone? So, a lot of people were upset that Bronny James was drafted by the Los Angeles Lakers, but it looks like it's already paying dividends, right? LeBron James is expected to re sign with the Lakers, and he's willing to take a discount to free up the full mid level exception, which would be huge in a multitude of ways. Now, first off, before you get super excited about this, there are stipulations, right? LeBron's not going to take the discount unless it's worth it. So the Lakers have to go and get key players or pieces that LeBron deems good enough for him to justify the discount. So LeBron's not just going to take the discount out of the kindness of his heart for them to go sign, Chris Paul or something like that with the mid-level exception. No. He wants a guy that can come in and be a real impact guy. But this is huge for the Lakers because it opens up the ability for sign and trades. They could still use an exception. I mean, the Lakers could now, with LeBron, go get 2, 3 plus impact pieces. I'm not talking about like just going and getting like a Cam Johnson and like a Dorian Finney. No, I'm talking about if all goes right. Again, you have to have the willingness from these other players. But if all goes right, I mean, the Lakers could end up with several players such as like, a Dorian Finney-Smith, a Klay Thompson, and maybe like a DeMar DeRozan or something, right? Like the Lakers, if they're creative and if they properly approach this in a manner, and again, you have to have some leeway from these players, but if they're willing and kind of look at it as like, hey, this is an opportunity for us to build that super team, not like a 3-star model, but like we have 6, 7, 8 guys that can all come in and we can go chase this championship and be one of the best teams in the league. That is something that is now looking really good. And again, we needed a win, right? I've talked about it. It's like, man, it's been incredibly frustrating, but you're starting to see the wins pile on, right? We're not at the home stretch yet, right? But we're really starting to gain some traction here. And that's why I keep saying, let's wait and see how things develop, right? I understand it's bleak. I understand we're frustrated. I understand the situation that we're in. But at the end of the day, it's like, hey, it's not how you start, it's how you finish. And so far, the Lakers look like they may be potentially finishing strong. But I want to kind of go over some of the options. There's obviously a plethora of options. But again, keeping in the frame of who LeBron would be interested in coming to the Lakers, and then kind of give my opinions and breakdowns on the guys that I think are most likely, as well as guys that, I would least likely to get or I want to get, and kind of like rank them in an order. And of course, I want to hear your thoughts and opinions, so let me know down in the comments below. Diving right into it. Jonas Valanciunas, right? Now, he's a guy on the list, supposedly, that LeBron James would be interested in. I think he is incredibly realistic, especially for a full mid-level exception. But I would rather put it into talent, right? I like Giannis, right? I think he's a guy that he can come in and kind of solidify that center position. But the thing is, Anthony Davis is still probably going to be your starting center. And so, to me, I would, like, if we could get a Klay, I'd rather get a Klay to get that shooter. Like, a lot of people I know, and we're going to touch on Klay here in a moment, but I rank the other guys higher because talent trumps everything, right? Like, no one has a perfect team. Everyone has their holes, but you saw the most talented team won the championship. And that's usually how it goes. The year before that, the most talented team, Denver, won the championship, right? Usually the team with the most and best talent wins the championship. So to me, I just think you could go get, an Andre Drummond or, one of these other centers, or maybe even work it out in a trade to where you're getting a tack on of a center or something, right? I just think the center position, yes, we need a center. I'm not saying we don't. I think it's very important, but I think that there are other options beyond the mid-level exception, where if it was just kind of like Jonas Valanciunas and that's it, then sure, right? That there might be a little more urgency. But I just don't think that I just don't think him and then say, you sign and trade for DeMar DeRozan is enough to put you over the top, right? So next up, the guy that I might even like more than anybody, and it's not so much that he's better than this player or that player or anything like that, but just he fits a real big need, but he's also a piece for now and the future is Miles Bridges. And I've talked about Miles Bridges on several occasions and a target that I was hoping the Lakers would go after this offseason. Even when, there was questions about D'Lo potentially opting out. I made an entire video on As It Stands Lakers about Miles Bridges and hey, this is a guy that the Lakers should look at. We'll see what happens with Charlotte. But he could, does he go to a team and look at a team like the Lakers and go, man, I can really raise my stock there? Right, he's a guy that could kind of use a little bit of a rebrand, a little bit of a stock market raise, right? So would he be willing to come over, right? Let's say he could get 18 million, right? Would he take, a couple million less, 5 million less to go over to the Lakers to potentially go from 18 million a year to 25 plus a year after 1 year and maybe even stick around with the Lakers long term? I mean, he would be the perfect small forward for the Lakers for now and the future. And you're talking about a guy that's young enough that could be a huge key piece. He can defend the best player on the other team. He can go drop 20. I mean, he's had some real, he really had quite a season last year. So he's actually one of the guys that I might be my favorite, considering, again, his upside as well as his ability to make a big impact now, but also be a piece long term, where a lot of these other guys are all more short term, right? They stick around for 2, maybe 3 years, but they're all older, right? That's why the Lakers can realistically get him. This is a guy that is younger that needs to kind of get his stock up and would be a piece that he could stick around for the next 10 years, right? To me, if you could get somebody like that, I think that that's something that you really have to do, right? Because again, it not only makes an impact, gives you a huge stride now, but also a big piece for the future. Next up, James Harden. One, I think James Harden isn't realistic. I think he'll sign with the Clippers and take the money. He wants the money. I mean, he's a guy that wants the money. But thing is, James Harden hasn't shown any inclination otherwise. I know he took a slight discount for the Sixers, but I don't see him basically going from near max to 13 million. Now, the Lakers could work out a sign and trade for James Harden, but is he the guy? Right? The problem, I like James Harden, and I think James Harden would make the Lakers a lot better, and especially because they want LeBron to play more off ball, James Harden makes a ton of sense in that regard as a guy that can play on ball, be your playmaker. He can shoot, right? He can get to the basket and finish at the rim, right? James Harden definitely is a piece that, if the Lakers were able to get him, I wouldn't be upset about, but he's not my favorite option, right? I question his antics at times and his commitment to winning. On top of that, once you get to the playoffs, you're going to have a couple games, a series where he's just going to completely disappear. Now, there is also you'll probably get a game or two each series where he might single-handedly win you a game, right? So it is kind of that give and take. And there is the argument that, he wouldn't be the main guy on the Lakers, right? He'd be the third, fourth guy on some nights, right? If he doesn't have it, you'd still have guys Austin Reeves and, if you could still get a Miles Bridges, right? You could go I have a Miles Bridges, have a LeBron, have an AD, right? So again, if you have enough talent, you may be able to kind of balance out the games where James Harden doesn't show up. But I put him here kind of in the middle because I don't think he's realistic. I think he'll either stay with the Clippers or work out a sign and trade, go somewhere he wants, where he can get, a better opportunity. Right? I just, not that the Lakers aren't a better opportunity for him. I just don't think, one, the Clippers necessarily would want to trade him to the Lakers, and two, I don't think he'd want to go to the Lakers. Right? I mean, but you never know. Right? You never know. So I'm not going to say it's impossible. Obviously, it's not impossible. I think it's one of the more unlikely scenarios. DeMar DeRozan. I like DeMar DeRozan a lot. Look, if Chicago doesn't sign him to that $30-40 million deal, I don't know if he's getting money anywhere else. All the teams that could pay him are all bottom feeding teams, right? So is he really going to want to go to a team like that? And are they going to want to give him 30 or 40 million, right? Like teams like Detroit and stuff like that, right? Like, do they look at it as like, yeah, let's get DeMar DeRozan, he's the piece we need? Or do they look at it as like, no, like let's just stay the course, keep stacking draft picks and try to be a real player, right? Like, and you have like Cooper Flag that's coming, right? So you're gonna have a lot of teams, like a lot of these bottom feeding teams are gonna be trying to tank for Cooper Flag. So I don't know who's offering him 20 plus million, right? So if teams are willing to give him, say, 15 million, right? Because he is also going to be 35, or he is 35, one of the two, right? So, and he's still an excellent player, right? But the thing is that, like, where does he go that's going to give him a significant amount of money? And even like if his market is, say, 15 million, then why not just take 2 million less, go play home where you've always wanted to go, and you've talked heavily about where you want to go, and get almost the same amount of money, but also be able to contend for a championship. And maybe you end up getting your first ring, right? Like, it's a best case scenario for DeMar DeRozan. I actually think DeMar is very likely. I really do, because I don't think his market is going to be heavy. I don't think he's going to have this huge market of teams lining up to pay him. And if the full mid-level exception is closed, and the Lakers could work out a sign and trade now with LeBron's commitment. So you could also maybe sign and trade for him, right? And then use your mid-level exception for somebody else, right? But who is that other person? Like, if you could get Clay maybe. And look, I know people look at DeMar and go, well, he doesn't shoot threes, right? But there's more to floor spacing than just shooting threes. And he shoots incredibly deep twos. I mean, they're all basically as close to the three-point line as possible without it being a three, right? So not really worried about him. He's also been one of the best closers, one of the best fourth quarter scorers, and one of the best clutch players in the league the last 5 years. 2 or 3 years ago, he was number one in the league. Right, so he gives you a guy that go get you 20 plus a night. He wouldn't be your best player, he'd be your third best player. And on top of that, he's a guy that could take pressure off of LeBron James and Anthony Davis and just go get you a bucket when you need it, right? Like, he's a guy that, especially in crunch time, you don't have to rely on LeBron heavily to close you out. All right, give the ball to DeMar and let him just go finish it, right? Tie game, minute left. There you go, DeMar. And then you still have LeBron, who's off ball, who, DeMar can make a play, right? I mean, DeMar's done it his whole career, and especially in San Antonio. I mean, Spurs ran him as basically the primary playmaker at times. So I really like DeMar, and I actually think he's incredibly realistic. And then last up, Klay Thompson. Now, more likely than not, you're probably going to have to sign and trade for him, right? Because would he take the mid-level exception? You never know, right? It depends. To me, it depends on what other teams are offering, right? If Dallas and Orlando, because supposedly he's going to talk with Orlando, Dallas, and the Lakers, right? Those are the three teams that are kind of on his radar. If they're all offering him, say 18 million, something like that, 15 to 18 million, I could see him saying let me just go take a discount and go play with the Lakers. Reports have came out that he's really intrigued with the idea of going home and particularly playing with LeBron. His dad played for the Lakers. His dad is still a radio announcer and works for the Lakers, right? So you have the family ties. He doesn't have to leave California. He has homes in the LA area, right? This is a guy that it would be incredibly convenient to just kind of go down the road to the Lakers. So I do think it's very possible the Lakers land Klay. I definitely think he's up there as one of the most realistic options. I think it just depends. If a team like Orlando is hey, we'll give you, 3 years, 60 million or something like that, then I think he goes to Orlando, right? Because, again, he's a guy, he has his championships, right? If he was DeMar DeRozan doesn't have a ring. So I could see DeMar taking a significant pay cut to get the opportunity to go win a ring. Klay Thompson, it's at this point, you're almost just playing for money, right? Yeah, it'd be great to go somewhere else and win a championship, but him winning a championship would not, he's not Steph. If Steph wins 2 or 3 more championships, right, everyone would be talking, is he top 5 all time? Klay could win 4 more championships or 5 more championships, and people would be good for him, right? It wouldn't change the narrative of his career because he's not and he never has been the guy, right? He's not considered and looked at as a top 15 player, top 10 player, right? Like, he's a guy that I think, it's like there's not the incentive that some of these players have where, I don't have a ring, or, man, if I could win another one, it'd really increase my legacy, right? It just, the Lakers, the ring chasing isn't a factor for him. So the only other thing would be, does he want the money or does he want to be home? Is basically what I think the argument would be. What would he be more inclined to do? Stay home and be with the franchise that he grew up with and that, he was a fan of? Or does he want to just go get that last bag and whoever pays him the most is the team that's going to land him? Just a thought. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass the question on to you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Which of these players do you want? Is there somebody else that I didn't mention that you want, that you'd like to see the Lakers maybe go and acquire? Man, if LeBron really does this, the Lakers could really round out this roster nicely. So we'll see. Time will tell. But anyway, again, as always, this is a discussion. So let me know. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. Helps me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.